Hello, and we are on our way to the championship match between Watford and Burnley this Friday night, 12th of August, and it is match day 3 I should say, of the championship season. I'm thinking of the Premier League. Oh, if only we were there, but we could be if we get this season right. And so far, 2 games and 4 points. 2 goals, 1 conceded. It could be a lot worse, but by the evidence of last week, I am a little bit worried because we were massively outplayed in that game, massively overrun in that midfield, and just struggling even to get out of our own half. Now, the dynamic in home games will hopefully be a lot different because we'll hopefully be a bit more on the front foot and take the game a bit more to Burnley than we did against West Brom, where we just struggled to get out of our half. We struggled to really have any kind of attacking threat and string even passes together, which was a big contrast to Sheffield United. Admittedly, we started slow also in the Sheffield United game, but then we kind of grew our way into the match and really kicked it up in the second half. So I really worry that we're going to be slow starters again tonight, and that might be our own downfall because Burnley might just use that against us and get a couple of goals in early, and then the game's already done. So we need to kind of be good from the off, get quick out the traps, and really be alive and be ready to maximise our opportunity at home as well. But going into this, obviously, that point against West Brom was a good result considering we were just so much on the back foot. It was a bit of a daylight robbery, really, with the amount of West Brom chances, the amount of great saves from Daniel Bachmann. I mean, he could have easily been man of the match from that game because of just how well he played with those saves that he made at crucial moments to keep us in at 0-0. And then, oh my word, goal of the season probably already locked in from Ismail Assar. Unbelievable the way he just made that touch, brought it down from the header from Cathcart, and then the look up and then the flight on the ball was just absolutely perfect. And David Button had absolutely no chance, but then it goes from the sublime to the ridiculous with Ismail Assar, with that penalty that was just so soft, so easy for Button to save. It was just similar to that double penalty miss against Manchester United, but it is what it is. We got the point, and we'll gladly take that. But now, going back to the Vic, we simply have to get something from this game. It's, in my opinion, a must not lose, because if we get 4 points from the first 3, when you think about the fact that there's 2 of those at home, it's quite disappointing. Certainly we can't have this regression from winning on the opening day to losing today. So at least a point, but I'd like to see us win because, well, of course I'd like to see us win any week, but especially this week, given how poor we were last week, I think we need to have a reaction. Burnley come into this off the back of the same amount of points, and actually, funnily enough, the same amount of goals and goals conceded. So we are very, very even going into this. They drew 1-1 last week as well to those lot down the road in the M1 derby, Luton Town. So it was a bit of a disappointing performance from them because apparently in the first half they kind of took a while to get going. Luton scored first and possibly causing an upset, and then Burnley equalised in the end for a good finish, to be fair, from Josh Brownhill. And we all know about Josh Brownhill from last season breaking our hearts at the death. And what I do want to see from this game, which we did show a bit, to be fair, against West Brom, but definitely against Sheffield United, is game management. Because I remember that Burnley game last season, we were 1-0 up for about 87 minutes. We scored quite early on in the first half with a Juraj Kucka goal. I think it might have been deflected off Tarkowski, but that kind of game management, we didn't show any of it last season. We showed a bit of it against Sheffield United when we had to dig in at 1-0, but it would be nice, of course, to score a couple of goals and then you're already comfortable that you don't have to be that frantic at the back. But it doesn't look like we're going to be scoring loads of goals each match, and hopefully that's all that really matters, is that we do enough to get the points and not necessarily get loads of goals, because it's easy to say, oh, you should be a team scoring goals, but with a new manager, it's hard with some new players. You've got to gel, and eventually maybe later on in the season we'll start scoring more goals. But I just want to see us manage this game. If we're winning the game, don't let Burnley come back into it. And you saw it against Sheffield United, the amount of chances we have gave to them and luckily enough they didn't take them, and that was kind of the same story against West Brom. I mean, there weren't many chances against Sheffield United. The main one that kind of comes to mind was the mistake at the back, and then I think it was Cathcart that was a bit like, a few steps behind. Jefferson had a chance to go through on goal and really should have slotted it in, but it was straight at Backman. But we saw that in extremes against West Brom. The amount of chances we kind of gave away, and Backman just had to kind of every single time bail out the defence, and we saw that defensive mix-up against West Brom for the goal. I mean, that ball over the top, it's a great ball from Dejan Garner, to be fair, but that still shouldn't cause that much problem. It might have been Dejan Garner, it might have been Pereira, I wasn't sure, but it was a good ball regardless. And they were talking about it on From the Rookery, how 9 times out of 10 that's still a good goal, and it's not easy to defend, and we've gone away to a good side in West Bromwich Albion and taken a point where you probably would have thought it would be one of the toughest games this season. But just the way that we defended that for that goal, I was a bit disappointed. Searauta and Cathcart not talking to each other, and Searauta just watching, going over his head. So hopefully, despite the fact that it was a good finish from Keinan Grant, we can actually show a bit more, being a bit more streetwise at the back and a bit more in the know-how, so we know that organisation is there. But for sure, I think this will be an interesting opponent. Burnley, they have changed their system now under Vincent Kompany. They're not that boring 4-4-2 that we always labelled them as being, and correctly so in the Premier League. But obviously they had Mike Jackson come in for Sean Dyche after he lost to Norwich City in the Premier League. And then Mike Jackson came in, you thought the revival was going to be on, and then they lost those kind of couple of games, and that was it. They went down with us. So I think this is going to be a big game come the end of the season. Both of these teams hopefully will be up in the top 6 at least, pushing for promotion. So it's a bit of an early season marker, lay down a marker and a statement of intent in a way, but it is so early in the season that it is kind of, you can afford to take your foot off the gas a little bit. But as I say, with how we played against West Brom last week, really need to see a reaction, at least in the terms of the performance, a bit more cohesion in that midfield, a bit more cohesion in our attack, because we were just so difficult and playing it around in our own half that it was just no kind of fluidity there. But in terms of Burnley, I mean, they've signed a few players. Murich from Manchester City, who, like Edison at Man City, likes to play out from the back. So maybe Kompany's trying to make a kind of B-Tech Man City there. And they've actually got some kind of ball-playing centre-backs as well. They've signed Harwood Bellis from Man City as well. And they've got Charlie Taylor as well. And also the new signing who scored on the opening day against Huddersfield, of course, Ian Maatsen. He's very fast, he's very pacey, and he's very attacking. So we've got to keep our eye on him, make sure we deal with his threats, especially with Ken Sema, who struggled against West Brom. I think, in my opinion, I'd prefer to see Hasan Kamara out on that left-hand side, and we start with Mario Gaspar. As much as Ken Sema is a threat down that left wing-back side, I just think he struggles too much in the defensive department, and we're going to be too overloaded down the wings. And Burnley, we know what they do in crossing. We saw it in that game in the Premier League last season with the amount of crosses they got in. Charlie Taylor for the first goal from Jack Cork, and then also, they crossed the ball in. We can't deal with it perfectly, and then it falls to Brownhill. So I think we need to deal with that crossing, and we also need to deal with the midfield, because the way that Burnley play is more of a fluid, like 4-2-2-2 and a 4-3-3 if you want to call it that. So with those midfielders, slotting in, they could have a bit of an overload. We've only got 2 really, in Cleverley and Kayembe, and we're desperately missing Imran Loser at the minute to just kind of hold that midfield and govern the central parts of that midfield, and then kind of link the defence into the attack, because that's not what we've been able to do the last couple of games. So hopefully we can win that midfield battle. I mean, Tom Cleverley, it's his birthday today, so the captain hopefully will have a nice celebration by the end of the game tonight. But importantly, we need to deal with Burnley's main threats, and they are Ian Maatsen, but also Ashley Barnes. If he starts, we know what we're going to get with him. We've been up against him plenty of times. He's not the best footballer in the world, to put it lightly, but he certainly will ruffle some feathers. And I think we've got to look at this game as a tough one, but we've also got to look at it as a winnable one, because of the fact we're at home, because of the fact that this is a new look Burnley team, and Vincent Kompany is just as inexperienced right now in the Championship as Rob Edwards, so that shouldn't put us at a disadvantage. It's a very even keel, but you know, we have got a great attack right now as it stands. However, Emmanuel Dennis, you know, impending transfer to Nottingham Forest, and Ismail Assar, who knows where he could go, but he's been linked with Leeds United. At this point, like, any game we can get out of either of them would be brilliant. So it leaves a big burden on Joao Pedro if he's the only man that's left. So we need to see a goal from him tonight. And I saw earlier, he viewed my story on Instagram, so I appreciate that, Joao. Hopefully, you can kind of fulfil your potential in this match and get on the score sheet. But let's see what happens. I'm going for a Watford win, of course I am, with a 2-1 victory on the night. I think the first goal of the game is quite bright at the minute, so let me just turn this down, people. Apologies for that. It's 2-1 in my prediction, so I'll say the first goal scorer is going to be, should we say Watford, or should we say, no, let's go Burnley to score first, then we show a bit of character to go back and get the victory. I think Burnley will score first, and I think the goal scorer will be, I don't know. The thing is, it's difficult because I don't know who's going to start for Burnley. Let's just go for Ian Maatsen. It usually is him. And then for the goal scorers for Watford, we'll start off with a goal from Dan Gosling. I don't think he'll start. Okay, let's change that. Let's go for another fullback, Hasan Kamara. He's my favourite player and he's in my fantasy team, so I might as well. And then also we'll get the winner from Joao Pedro, yet again, like he did against the Blades. Home comforts for the Brazilian on the 86th minute to win it in stoppage time. But I've got to ask for your score prediction. What are you saying for this Friday night kickoff?
Not quite as optimistic as you. I'm going to go 1-1.
Yeah, I mean, I think 1-1 is probably a more realistic prediction, but you know, that optimistic Watford fan inside me can't help it, and it just would be brilliant to see it on a Friday night kickoff under the lights on Sky Sports again for a third match in a row. You know, it'd be nice to see another win. But this is probably going to be our toughest of the 3 games, so you know, I'm going to be kind of neutral at the same time, and I'd take a point as long as the performance is there. You know, we can't be drawing 0-0 and Burnley absolutely batter us. We kind of get out completely, you know, stealing a point like we did against West Brom. I don't want to see us be so at the back foot, especially the fact we're at home. We need to dictate this game more, and at least, you know, on an even keel, be a competitive with this Claret side. So big match. Let's see if the lads are up for it. We certainly need to be to kind of get some wins off this Burnley side. And come on, you ORNS, let's hope the Hornets are buzzing after tonight. I'll see you at full time. We have arrived at the Vic, back again for a second home game, this time against Burnley. Hopefully, copy and paste and control, alt, copy, whatever you call it, exact copy of the Sheffield United result, please. Thank you very much. Win tonight and we are top of the league. Say, we are top of the league. But it's going to be a tricky one. It's going to be a tight one. Team news is going to follow soon. I haven't seen it yet, but let's find out very, very soon. There are the Burnley goalkeepers warming up. Our players yet to come out yet. And have we had any team news? That is the question. So there is exactly 45 minutes till kick-off, and the game is on Sky Sports Football. It's the third game in a row that we've been televised, so hopefully the players can rise to the pressure of all those eyes watching them intently.
Chowdhury makes debut.
Chowdhury debut, that's what I'm talking about. Go on, Hamza. We signed him, of course, from Leicester City. Good signing. And great to see him making his debut tonight. So, in goal, we've got Daniel Batman. We've got a first Watford start for Mario Gaspar, which is what I wanted to see, so I'm happy about that. The back two, Cathcart and Sierralta. Yeah, recovered. Sierralta, that's good to see after he hobbled off. And then we've got Craig Cathcart with him, and then we've got Kamara basically playing as like a weird right centre back, and then at right back Mario Gaspar, at left wing back Ken Sema. So we're sticking with Ken. There come the Burnley players, and then the front three: Sarr, Pedro, and somehow, yes, somehow, Kayembe. That cannot be right. Surely it's Joao Pedro, Ismaila Sarr together in a 4-4-2. If Kayembe's in a front three, then God help us. But then in the midfield, we've got Hamza Chowdhury making his debut alongside Tom Cleverley, and we've also got that's it, yeah. So on the bench, we've got Hamer, Cabaselli, Ngakia, Asprilla, Gosling, Manai, and Bayo. So interesting formation. Whether it's a 4-4-2 or a 4-2-3-1, which we've done previously, I'm not quite sure, but it's interesting. Just hope Kayembe's not playing in a front three. That's all I'm going to say. Glenn Murray on the Sky Sports punditry. Former player, of course, Glenn Murray of Watford. And as always, Joby McAnuff, he's always there. The pitch is a carpet, as always. Come on, you ORNS! Since I was young! Dun 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 dun. Get in there, Watford! We are top of the league, say we are top of the league! Go out of my way. I just can't get enough. I just can't get enough. I just can't get enough. He had a great debut tonight, Hamza Chowdhury. Solid. Seem to get it. we are top of the league. Say we are top of the league. We are top of the league. Say we are top of the league. Get him. Unbeaten start to life in the Championship under Rob Edwards, and 3 games, 3 goals, 7 points from a possible 9. You've got to be happy with that. And it's a Watford win at Vicarage Road yet again. It's finished Watford 1, Burnley 0. Wow, was that hard fought, but well earned and well deserved. Watford getting a victory with a first half goal from Tom Cleverley, the birthday boy. What a great sight to be seen. The only issue is he went off injured. But, you know, he got his moment of glory and then he went off to have his birthday cake. So we'll take it. In terms of the lineups in goal, as always, last week he was man of the match at the Hawthorns, and today, in my opinion, man of the match again. Daniel Bachmann didn't have a lot of saves to make tonight, but oh my gosh, were they superb. The save to deny at close range, spreading his body, was superb, and especially that free kick that was whipped in, heading into that top right corner, and oh my word, what a save to tip it around the post. And then Daniel Bachmann, just superb in terms of getting his body behind the ball. A couple of times Burnley get it into the box, they get shots away. It's one of those times, if you don't get your body behind it, it could spill under, but Bachmann is solid as a rock, and he gets there and he finds the ball and catches it and just lays on it. And that's how we like to see goalkeepers seeing out the game and how it should be done. So superb from Daniel Bachmann today. And that is all despite the absolutely unnecessary, uncalled for abuse he was getting from the Burnley fans. Now, anyone in the comment section below, put it down. Is there any reason for Burnley fans to have this agenda against Daniel Bachmann? Because I can't work it out. He played for Stoke, he didn't play for Blackburn or, you know, Preston or whatever. So it's a weird one. But the game starts, and only about 2 minutes into the game, they start chanting, "You're just a bad Ben Foster." And it's like, well, okay, fair enough about Ben Foster because he used to play for West Brom and, you know, it's fairly near Burnley. I can kind of make that connection. Not really, but, you know, like, if you didn't like Ben Foster, you didn't like Ben Foster, whatever. But what connection has that got to Daniel Bachmann? Naught. So, very odd one. And it just kept happening all game. And first half, I mean, there weren't many chances. It was a game low on quality, and therefore Daniel Bachmann didn't have many saves to make. But he made one save, and it was superb. He just spread himself and blocked a shot from close range in that game. It might have been in the second half, actually, now I've come to think of it. So he had barely little to do, to be honest, certainly in the first half. So the only thing that worried us in the first half was when Burnley put the ball across the box, and it was just no one hit it. Like, it went through everyone. So really, it was a game that was low on quality in the first half, but Daniel Bachmann, so high on quality in the second. Unbelievable goalkeeping, and it's brilliant because as the game goes on, Bachmann shows his true colours, gets better and better, and, you know, shushes the Burnley fans when Watford score. It's what you love to see. It's very much, you know, proof in the pudding, and Burnley fans getting their just desserts. So yeah, in terms of the back four, left back Hasan Kamara, good to see him back at left back for once. It's where he should be played. I've got to be honest, the formation there today, when it came out on Sky Sports and BBC Sport, it was labelled as a 4-3-3. Right, hear this. Or was it a 4-3-3? Or was it a 5? No, it might have been a 5-2-3.
3-4-3.
Yeah, 3-4-3, that was it now. I remember. 3-4-3. And it was like, okay, let's read this. And it's like, fair enough, 3 at the back, as usual. But then you see that one of those 3 at the back is Kamara. Okay. So then our fullbacks, Gaspar and Ken Sema. Okay. Then you look at the front 3, Joao Pedro, Ismail Assar, Edu Kayembe. And you're like, huh? Has BBC Sport had a shocker here? What's going on? And I can assure you, he was not playing in the front 3, thankfully. It was actually instead a bit more of a different formation, a 4-2-3-1, which, to be honest, I say a different formation. That's what we've kind of played with most of this season. But if you were watching the pitch, you could not tell that. We were changing all over. Ken Sema at times was moving to the right, Kamara to the left. It was all changing up. And let's go through that back 4 as it looks on BBC Sport in that 4-2-3-1, because starting off with Hasan Kamara, What I will say about Hasan Kamara is he gives his all. Every single game, he plays for the badge, and that is what I love about him. And he still remains my favourite Watford player, despite the fact tonight he unfortunately got sent off. We'll get to that. What I will say with Kamara is what he doesn't have in talent, he makes up for in effort. And that is all you can ask for from any player that puts on the badge. And his energy and his determination to get back and tackle is brilliant. So, first half, I can't really fault Kamara's performance. I mean, there were moments where you think, oh, he's struggling to get back and defend. But ultimately, he was doing enough, as were most of the Watford defence. The second half rolls around, and I'll be honest, for a long time, Burnley weren't threatening us. They weren't getting down the sides. They weren't really causing much upsets for our fullbacks. But there was just a point where it started getting where Burnley were getting out wide, and it was just, there was too much space, and they were putting balls into the box. It was a very brief spell, but then you thought, okay, we've dealt with it. Then around the 80th minute, a ball gets kind of pinged over the top, and it's a good ball. But I think it's a Burnley player that gets a foot in or something. It kind of ricochets, and the ball breaks forward, and it's out on that right hand side, but it's a bit wide, and you just see the ball, and it's like suddenly a Burnley player is in on goal, and you're like, oh dear, we are in the mud here, because we've only really got Kamara back, and he's running back to get back, and he has to make a challenge because he has to get there to stop a goal scoring opportunity. And it's a red card, and it's tough on him, but it's probably one of those ones, it's not malicious, it's not intentional, but it's just clumsy, and that's going to be given as a red card these days. So it's a shame. Whether or not he had to make that challenge to deny a goal, I don't know. We have to see it back. It was down the other end, but it didn't look like a bad challenge. It was just a clumsy one, and ultimately, it had to be done. So he took one for the team there, Hasan, and I feel for him. Because you could see how gutted he was when he was, trudging off the pitch. Because obviously that's a massive blow. It's a free kick in a dangerous area, and with about 10 or so minutes to go plus added time, that's a very, very presentable way back into the game for Burnley. From the resulting free kick, what a save from Daniel Bachmann. That one I talked about, tipping around the post, absolutely brilliant. Because that was goal bound, that was going into the back of the net, and Bachmann had other ideas. So Watford did well actually to manage the game from that point on, because they took off Hamza Chowdhury, who I thought for his debut was very, very solid. Nothing too fancy, which is actually good for our midfield, because sometimes, we play around too much in our midfield and lose it. I mean, that was probably the theme of tonight, was too many sloppy decisions and losing possession, and that was really frustrating, because every time we lost it, we didn't then try and win it back. It felt like Burnley were just fairly comfortable to have the ball, and we were just kind of lucky that they weren't making the most of it. But at the same time, we were making up for it in defence, because sometimes we were getting back in numbers and overcrowding. So what we did make up for in quality, we sometimes did kind of fix these things. But ultimately, I will say, a very tough night for Hasan Kamara, because not nice to see him get sent off, but he gives his all, and that's all we can ask for, and it was just an unfortunate thing, so you feel for him really. Next to him in the defence, I thought Craig Cathcart all night was superb, and obviously took on the captaincy role after Tom Cleverley had to go off injured in the first half, and I thought he was a leader. He was a great leader at the back, looking very solid. As we always say with Craig Cathcart, he's not spectacular, but he's just exactly what you want from a centre-back, and he just doesn't even show his age. He's still a great Northern Ireland international, still a great servant for this club. And yes, you could argue Watford should upgrade and get someone young and more skillful, but look, at the end of the day, he's doing the job, and that's all we want. Francisco Sierralta, much better today, I thought. I thought he struggled in the game against West Brom, often trying to get headers and just not clearing his lines properly, but today he was getting a bit more kind of distant on the headers and trying to clear away, and he had a tough task after tonight against Ashley Barnes. He knew he had to kind of get the physical battle over him, and he's absolutely pocketed him tonight, and really, really good performance from Sierralta, so happy for him. And then of course Mario Gaspar with his first start in a Hornets shirt, and I've got to be honest, it's one he probably won't want to remember for a while. I thought he just looked very, very nervous, pretty much all game. You know, there was points where the ball would come to him and it was, you know, down the other side of the pitch on the touchline, and he just can't even judge the flight of the ball, and it bounces over him, and it's just not ideal. It really is not ideal. So sorry, we're just getting to a bit of a dark stage, so bear with people while you can't see me. But yeah, he really did have a tough night, and I just felt he was just rushing things and making mistakes and just not passing the ball quick enough. You know, he was trying to play it around and release it too late. So we kept giving the ball away because of that. But also Gaspar, I just felt defensively, he looked very slow tracking back and not finding the room to get a tackle in. So I don't know what it was about Gaspar tonight, but something wasn't right, and we've got to hope that we can get in another fullback, because with Kamara obviously out for 3 games now, or 2 games maybe, I'm not sure what the rules are with the championship suspensions, but it was a straight red, so I assume 3. And I think just Jeremy Ngakia, I feel for him because he was on the bench tonight, didn't get used, and for me he's just so much more solid. But I get Matt Gaspar is a very good player. He will become good, but we've just got to give him time to gel, and you know, we can't expect him to be perfect from the off, and this certainly wasn't that tonight. Looking at midfield, I thought Kayembe was solid tonight. I mean, given as man of the match by the commentator over the game, not Sky Sports, but the announcer at Watford Stadium. So I kind of think he was good in patches. It was kind of hard sometimes to see what he was doing differently to the rest of our midfield, but at times he did bring the ball forward and he got tackles in, and he was doing a lot of running, to be fair to him, so he put in the hard yards. But he was given man of the match by the Watford announcer. And then next to him, Chowdhury, as I say, solid tonight. There was probably a lot of pressure on him tonight to deliver in his first start, straight in after getting signed in the week. It was straight into the team, so that's good to see. And I definitely think he can be a very solid midfielder if Loser comes back. That's a great midfield with Chowdhury in there. So I really did like the look of him today, and I'm sure plenty more good things to come from him, but a solid first game. Midfield, kind of attacking three of Ismail Assar, Cleverley and Sema. As I say, I think Kemmer looked like a left wing back for some of the game, but then at times he could also play at left wing. So Sema tonight, I think, struggled. I think he gave his all, but it was just, he was not getting in as many crosses as he usually does. And again, it's just when he's in a more defensive role, trying to kind of fill in for the fullbacks that haven't tracked back yet, you can't cut it in that position. So I think if you're going to play Ken, you've got to play him further forward and leave the defending to the fullbacks. But the fullbacks have to know that as good as they are going forward, they've got to track back. So it's just getting that balance right now. And the 4-2-3-1 is okay, but we have to keep experimenting because this is a new team. We're still gelling players. But ultimately, yeah, Ken struggled tonight, I thought. But, had good spells as well. And always gives 100% Ken Sema. You can definitely hang your hat on that. So solid enough, but ultimately a little bit off tonight. Tom Cleverley obviously got the goal. It was a well-worked goal from Watford. And I say about Ken Sema how he did struggle, but that was a good pass into him from Ken Sema. And Cleverley, really hard finish because he's falling, he's trying to slot it, and I've got to be honest, Muric got a lot of kind of praise from the Burnley fans before the game, how good he is playing out from the back and playing with his feet. And Burnley fans are saying that they're basically doing like a B-Tech Man City with Company there. He knows the kind of style of football he wants, and obviously the players is a different calibre, but they're trying to play out from the back and use Muric as that. But I thought distribution wise he was actually quite sloppy today, so it's interesting that Watford's press was a bit better today, and we were actually forcing mistakes when Burnley were in possession. But yeah, great goal. He just put Watford ahead just on the stroke of half time, did the captain, and on his birthday that must be so satisfying. So the fact is we've managed the game out, we've extended our good start to the season, and we've ended Burnley's unbeaten start. So it's lovely, it really is. And it was our first effort on target, admittedly that goal from Tom Cleverley, but it was a good goal, and it seemed like towards the end of that first half we started growing into the game more, and it felt earned that we got that first half lead. And then second half, I thought we were much the better team. Burnley had very little up until about the 80th minute, when obviously Kamara got sent off, and obviously naturally you're going to have a bit of a man disadvantage. So yeah, really good pullback from Sema. And I've just looked at BBC Sport. It says the host led with the game's first effort on target as João Pedro's neat touch freed Ismail Assar, who pulled back found Cleverley. But then it says assist Sema, so who knows? It might have been Sema, it might have been Sarr. But the point is, it was a good goal for Cleverley, and just a shame to see him off injured. Emmanuel Dennis, obviously, not in this squad. We knew why. Forest, 20 million, was pretty much agreed today, so I wish him well, but it was bound to happen. We knew one of them was always going to leave, and I don't really mind. I don't blame him. He's just too good for the Championship. But the question is now, can Ismail Assar be kept? Because he is a star, and we need him in our front three, but I don't know, it's going to be a real uphill battle, so let's not hold out any hopes. But yeah, Cleverley was good, and then Gosling came on for him, and I think Gosling struggled really to make an impact. He just wasn't really doing much, and he was giving a lot of balls away and short passes and misplaced. So yeah, I'm worried about that, to be honest. Yeah, corners. Oh my gosh, Gosling, get them off corners, because our corners today, about 3 or 4 times, you can't beat the first man. Okay, it's 101 at football. Just beat the first man, and it's not even just that. It's one of them, which I think is the worst corner I've seen in all of football. Not just that he didn't beat the first man, but he didn't even get into the air. He was just rolling across the floor. Come on, man, I could take that corner. Don't do that like that. It's just awful. Ismail Assar, well, if he got the assist, fair play to him. But other than that, he was quite quiet today, and obviously subbed off on about 64 minutes. We don't know why. We assume maybe it's just to protect him, but I don't want us to protect him because some team has got his eye on him. Hopefully it's not Leeds United, and hopefully we can keep Ismail Assar fit and firing, but he just didn't quite have the same effect he did obviously as Monday night, which was a goal of the season. But yeah, without Dennis maybe the link up wasn't as much, but I think it's hard when you've got two kind of real natural wingers in Pedro and Sarr to kind of get them playing well together is difficult. But Sarr, let's see how many more games we get out of him. At the end of the day, each 90 minutes is precious, and we got 64 from him today, so that was decent. And then João Pedro, who I thought was very, very good tonight. I mean, a lot of people will look at Bachmann and say he was man of the match. I agree with them. And look at Kayembe, who was apparently solid. But I thought Pedro was really good as well tonight. I thought he just did a lot of the simple things well. Very, very good energy, running at the defence and taking on and some of the skills. I mean, let's talk about skills later when we get to Asprilla, but wow, João Pedro, he has got a lot of talent in his locker, and had opportunities today and was unlucky to not get some of them. So yeah, happy with you, João. Let's talk about the substitutes. Kabasele came on, great decision. As I say, Chowdhury coming off, Kabasele came on, had to be done to shore up that defence after the red card. Bayo came on 64 minutes for his Watford debut, interestingly ahead of Raymond and I thought Bayo was really, really good. Encouraging, obviously didn't do a lot in terms of creating chances, but it's early days in his Watford career. But in terms of energy and willingness to chase after it, was very, very good, and winning a lot of aerial duels, which is important. We don't have a lot of classic number 9s. And, he might not be necessarily a goal poacher, but he certainly will help the rest of the team to flourish. And then let's talk about Asprilla, because oh my gosh, when he came on, he brought the fireworks, didn't he? He was just different gravy. The thing is, this kid is so young, got so much potential, and he already looks like he's got the world beneath his feet. He's just brilliant at taking on players and showing a little bit of skill. And the amount of times he just completely mugged off those Burnley fullbacks, so really looks a great prospect. And it was unlucky to get booked, but he's young, he'll learn. So yeah, all in all, very good win. Very good to see us top of the table. Thought Burnley were quite underwhelming, if I'm honest. They didn't offer the attacking threat from their fullbacks, Taylor and Maatsen and Roberts, that I thought they would. And I thought, Bachmann was superb. Burnley, though, ultimately didn't test him enough. And, their attack, they changed it, all of it. By the end, they had Rodriguez on, they had Teller on, they had Cork on, and it made very little difference. Because, as I say, Sierrata marked Barnes out of the game. So, very, very good. Very, very nice to be top of the table, for now at least. Come on, West Brom, and come on all those other teams that are playing with sides on 4 points. And let's see if we can carry on the winning run away to Troy Deeney's Birmingham on Tuesday. See you later.